Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. This is a little late night sesh, as promised from earlier, to make up for what I missed on Tuesday. But it is still Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Just FYI. Hope you got a chance to check out the first message. It was a pretty good one, if I do say so myself. And yeah, I'm interested to see what comes through now. Don't forget about the summer soul sale, details in the description box below. Take advantage while supplies last. And yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada. That was a really good Seinfeld episode. If you are into Seinfeld, if you know, then you definitely know, because that was one of the classic ones. But yeah, yada, yada, yada. All right, so let's see where we are. Okay, Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups. Somebody got love on the brain, or it could be the object of someone's affections, could be a love interest, could be a baby mama, could be a girlfriend, a mom. Someone considering either investing time into a relationship or what they didn't invest. Let's see, which one? I don't know. I would say it would be what they didn't invest, because if this is the Queen of Pentacles, somebody didn't see the value in the nature of the Queen of Cups. Like, it's given, what's love got to do with it? Somebody had more of a material focus, and maybe, you know, it could be a matter of kind of taking this Queen of Cups energy for granted, in a sense where it's like, yeah, that's cool. Love is cool and everything. Like, you cute or whatever, but I'm trying to get this money. So maybe they either could have invested in a more material, and I mean, I dare not say superficial yet. I'm gonna see what's behind this card, but definitely in a more materially driven partnership, or they are now observing their I think it's more of that, but I'll say this as well. They're observing they're taking inventory of their harvest at this point, after some time of investing one way or the other, or what's the right word? Abstaining from investing in another. And they're either considering, like, you know, they could have gone for a partnership that was more on their speed and in their lane, but there's a deep consideration here, I feel, with the Seven of Pentacles. That what I was saying is either that, or they're considering, after having made a choice outside of this Queen of Pentacles, or in love in general, because that's what the Queen of Pentacles could represent. They're actually seeing that that's where the money resides, you know, or that that the Queen of Pentacles herself has evolved into a Queen of the Queen of Cups, herself has evolved into a Queen of Pentacles, but because somebody didn't kind of get in on that investment at the ground level, you know, they kind of missed an opportunity to reap the benefits. But let's see what's behind this card. Yeah, I think that might be more of it. More the second one than the first. I mean, somebody definitely could have have focused more on material girls, like point blank period. Like the Queen of Cups is she could be a bit more modest, more sensitive, more caring and loving, not so materially focused, more emotionally based. Not this, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying anything against the Queen of Cups. I think she's a very lovely queen, just not results driven, or material results driven as would be the Queen of Pentacles, at least not on sight. So perhaps, as I said, either someone kind of got, they kind of got duped a little bit, or they just were misguided, or where they abstained from investing and even paying attention, because Pentacles could be attention. Like they didn't really pay much attention to this Queen of Cups energy because that's not the frequency they were on, and they kind of wrote it off or set it to the side like, that's cool, but I ain't making no money. And then lo and behold, it turns out that someone was quite prosperous and productive, or it literally could be a matter of this energy transforming from this Queen of Cups to this, or ultimately evolving into the energy that embodies both, or it could be somebody's perspective that has changed a great deal about what truly is valuable, where they pursued more of, the Queen of Pentacles could be someone that's like that could be this could be like a trophy wife type of situation. Kinda, would I say trophy? Kind of, depending on what you're in the market for, especially with the Six of Wands, which could be about recognition, maybe even celebrity status, or just kind of just being out in the public eye, a public persona of some sort, where the Queen of Cups is probably more of a homebody, more reserved, conservative, more focused on, keeping more domesticated, keeping the home, settled and, in order, and rearing the children and so on and so forth. But like I said, it's like, and the Queen of Pentacles is more like the go-getter that could be an entrepreneur, could be someone could hold a high power position in a company, could just be really ambitious and driven in a high-powered way, which is attractive as well, especially to a certain type of man who clearly is about his coins in this regard. But as I said, it could be one or the other, or a combination of the two, where time has ultimately revealed that the source of wealth is really in emotional stability first and foremost. Because you could have all the money and accolades and achievements and degrees and positions of power in the world, but if you don't have emotional stability, like a sound mind and even emotional intelligence, there's so many ways I could go about this, just based on how the nature of even like celebrity is changing. It has kind of evolved right before our eyes, where this would have been a more revered energy to some degree. The let's say the classic social media couple that's just showcasing all of their luxurious lifestyle. But what's changing quite a bit, even within those dynamics, is more and more people, either one or the other or both, are actually starting to value more of their mental health, their psychological wellness, going on their spiritual journeys after finding out that, you know, the material girl world is really not all that it's cracked up to be, that there's something more to be gained first, as to establish a foundation and then to build upon that, or at least to find your peace and balance in this regard, self-love in a phrase, before you can really even appreciate the value of what you acquire, you know, in a physical sense. So like I said, it's like, it feels like somebody that is really like maybe considering like, what did I invest in? You know, somebody spent a great deal of time on what was popping at a time in a season, and now the tides are changing drastically, and not even just for social media's sake, like for, what's trendy and what's popular, but just in general, what's evidently prosperous and beneficial, if your eyes are open at all to what's right before them, particularly in your own garden, so to speak, is really not hard to kind of see that although spirituality and mental health and all that other stuff, wrapped up, self-love and self-care, let's say generically, is like a trend and is popularized, and it's a thing right now. It's still, when it's really actually taken seriously and appreciated, it still holds a great deal of value and a great deal of weight when you actually submit yourself to that organically, not just for show or for shits and giggles or because everybody else is doing it. But the reason why it's building such a case is because the trending way of acquiring esteem and notoriety, attention, even fame, fortune, is proven itself not to really be all that sustainable or satisfying. It's like the proof is in the pudding type of thing, where you could spend all the time in the world cultivating it every which a way that you can strategize, but what does it yield at the end of the day is irrefutable, Wow, and the Ace of Swords, okay. So I think that was pretty much where it is. Yeah. So it feels like the energy more so, and of course I'll probably flip-flop back and forth to it being more of a personalized, like a specific account of someone having invested, but generally speaking, it just feels like what I said, where, self-love, self-care is climbing to the top of the charts, because there's more proven value in that, even on a personal level, even if it hasn't been proven yet, because people are still kind of fumbling their way into that realization, what has been disproved is kind of helping build the case that there has to be something else then. If this isn't it, and this is what I've been pursuing, this is what, I've been investing my blood, sweat, and tears, my money, my attention, my time and energy into, and then you actually achieve it, it comes to you, like you receive it in the Queen of Pentacles energy, where that's a receptive energy. You get it, but then it's just like, you get it, and then you realize that not only did it take some, a great deal of sacrifice to achieve what you were after, but you're also kind of staring down the barrel of this kind of being your life. Like, so this is what I'm going to have to do for the long run just to have this one pentacle sitting in my lap type of thing, you know, like it's just not, it's not making dollars, and it's really not making sense. Even if it's making dollars, it's not making as much sense to people, I guess, that have sense anyway, because we can tell, you know, socially that there's still plenty of cases being built for pursuing the bag exclusively, but I think the tide is turning, is the point here. People are the truth is being revealed in a way that can't really be ignored anymore. When you even see so many influencers that, like I said, have acquired all that they've been dying to have, and still, you know, by the droves are falling apart, or having to take a mental health break, or are breaking up, or changing, you know, switching their focus, switching their content, going on their spiritual journey, you know, like all of that type of stuff. It may seem trendy, and perhaps people are attracted to it sometimes because it is, because, you know, the nature of people. But like I said, if you can even stumble your way into it with any type of reasonable good intention, you'll probably find that there's greater value in that submission than anything else. And these days, where the tide is really changing now, not all at once, not all together now, I don't believe, especially for those that may just be initiating their spiritual journey or their spiritual path. But where it's changing is the stigma that you kind of got to be a poor righteous teacher, or a righteous pulper of some sorts, you know, like a poor servant, you know. That stigma is being repealed by the examples, you know, that are being promoted and exalted to some degree authentically now, not just for show, like I said, but that are authentically being showcased, to see that spirituality can be just as satisfying and gratifying as carnality. You know what I mean? Like, there, once upon a time, there was much of a stigma on indulgences of the world not really having a place on a righteous path or in a righteous lifestyle, particularly a religious lifestyle, and even admonishing those that perhaps even preach prosperity. Now, on the flip side, of course, it shouldn't be exclusively that in any regard, whether it's religion or spirituality. It's not supposed to be fixated. Hell, if it's neither, you know, even those that don't necessarily subscribe to anything soul or you know, soul driven or spirit driven, are finding that the truth is that even to exclusively simplify life as a mere physical experience leaves much to be desired. And in those cases, some may not even know exactly what that is. It may not be clear, but there's a sensation about, you know, a sensation of that void that, again, is something that you can't really ignore, you know. So in any regard, it's a matter of balance now, to know that you don't have to really forsake one for the other. The two can mutually exist, harmoniously exist, but it's just a matter of what you prioritize foremost, you know, because out of the spirit manifest the material, not really the other way around. Now, the material can infect or affect the spirit nature, but usually, I mean, without there being some grounded cultivation in the spirit in the first place, usually that adverse effect is not so much productive and prosperous as it is the other way around. At least not as sustainable, because you could get a windfall of money or a big opportunity of a new job or promotion, or just got paid, and it does certainly do something to the frequency of your, the elevation of your vibration, because it's nice to be able to have and do and be as you want to have the liberty to obtain and spend or exchange as you desire. But that if it's just that could last simply just as long as you have that resource or that access, which is why it's important to have it the other way around, where you're rich in spirit, rich in love, rich in peace. You're grounded, and your emotional your emotional aspects of yourself your levels are pretty stable, so that if in fact it ever comes a time when you don't have the material measurement to soothe, you have another source of excitement or temperance that is ultimately untouchable. Like it doesn't have to be dependent on anything outside of you unless you gauge it to, pretty much. So it's all within your own discernment and decision. Much more power in this frequency than in the aspects of this world, which are so fleeting and frivolous most times. Not to say we don't want it, because we want the money, we do. But we also want the spirit, and we want the soul to be pure, to continue to be attracting, at that level, and knowing how to kind of go with the flow when it's at its greatest, and when, there may be some, some dips in, and that, you get the point. Because who I'm talking to is probably the choir at this point, like exactly with this Three of Cups here, at least the trio, where you get it. You can find your peace and happiness on your own, in a group. It's not dependent on, even that is a thing. Like you don't have to be, you don't necessarily only find your joy in the crowd or amongst others or with camaraderie, with a support system. Like you could be just as satisfied, like I said, like this is the homebody energy. She could be just as satisfied at home with a glass of wine, watching her favorite show, eating some chocolates or whatever. I don't know why I'm stereotyping her like this, but she could be just as pleased in her own space at home as she could be maybe out with girlfriends at happy hour, and or having a good dinner, and so on and so forth, at a bridal shower or a baby shower or a birthday party or whatever. It's like there is generally this is what I would say in this event. Like there's a flirtation with life. I talked about this before from the influencer Rory Ray. It's always so hard to say her name. Where she talks about like being kind of like like flirting with life, or being like seduced by life, in a sense where everything holds value. Everything is alluring. Everything's intriguing. Everything is sensual and sensational in a pure way, like just really enjoying life. And obviously, you don't really have to have money to do that. It's nice, but you could just go to the park with, pack a little snack from home in this energy and just enjoy nature, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the breeze, enjoy people watching. And it would be just as satisfying as if you were out on a shopping spree or, out spending money with girlfriends or whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, so we got the Nine of Wands here, and this feels like it feels like a connection to this energy here with the Seven of Pentacles, where somebody again is just kind of looking back. That the hindsight is not very comforting for this energy here at the Nine of Wands. I would venture to say that they may be feeling a little bit left out of the celebration, or just feel like kind of like on the outside looking in, or they just may not have much that they're finding themselves to be joyful for or celebratory for. Like what are we celebrating? Like, I'm broke, or I don't have the money that I thought I was going to have, or I didn't get the job that I wanted. I didn't the last few power moves that I made haven't really worked out for me the way that I intended. Somebody that's not really feeling all that secure about their presence in this moment, and they may be either reflecting on their choices as to how they got here, and or again reflecting on that, and very much connected to the Seven of Pentacles, reflecting on their energetic investments, right? This is reflecting on their passion, what impulses they allowed to guide their actions, and considering what have I yielded from it, and or also looking around and seeing other people advancing on account of what they abstained from. That's what I'm getting here. Like, they got the cups too, just like the Queen of Cups, and seeing that, damn, the people with the cups seem to be having the best time right now. I thought it was the people with the Pentacles that had all the power, that had all the influence, that were living their best life. So literally somebody is feeling like they kind of played themselves, and also this is almost the end of a cycle. So they're like more or less have come to a point where they're needing to gear up for some new beginning of sorts. And perhaps the consideration of having to recondition themselves in the way that they ultimately rejected before doesn't make them feel very excited. It's like, you mean to tell me that what I said no to is now what I have to actually like go back and get or do or revisit or reconsider? It's like, what? It just feels so unfair to some people because they did it the way that we're conditioned to do it, to work your fingers to the bone and, I don't know, all the things of how we're conditioned to gain prosperity and fortune and fame, and which we are, glamored to think somehow equates to happiness. And then you get it, and then it's like you feel duped, like I said. But ultimately, you can only blame yourself because all of your actions, all the actions taken, all the investments made were your own personal choice. You could look around, left and right, front and back, but there would never be anybody truly to blame for what you ultimately decided to do, what you discerned at a time was right for yourself. The only thing left to do is to just move forward. Take accountability at that and move forward. Wow, there's a sun card. Damn, people on vacation. Yeah, it's giving like I said, living their life like it's golden. That's what this energy is giving with the Three of Cups to the Sun. No wonder. Somebody like, I wanna be on vacation. I wanna just lay out and tan on the beach all day. I wanna travel. It's like some energies that thought they were procuring the fast track to the easy life. Now everything's kind of like upside down with that Wheel of Fortune turned, where those that kind of took the long hard road are it's like they've earned their vacation at this point. They've earned the right to holiday. Ooh, yeah, maybe even haven't incurred a great deal of heartbreak, but really what is given to me is that it's heartbreaking for people that have chosen otherwise. It's like some people chose to have their cake, let's say, their ice cream before their cake, because I won't say they eat their cake and have it too, right? Because that's really kind of dumb, even though we know what it, But some people really were insistent on having their ice cream before their cake, okay? Meaning they wanted to accelerate their prosperity and abundance. And a lot of times it was in ways that may have been a bit toxic or traumatic, whether it be for themselves or for others in their efforts. They got it though. They got that sweet confection, that sweet, smooth confection on their taste buds, but it was just like, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, because the idea was to kind of have your cake and ice cream together. But some people maybe didn't want to wait for the cake to finish baking or to be getting decorated, or however you want to see it. And then some folks, they decided that they wanted to wait for ice cream and cake, for the whole prize, not just a part of it, a piece of it. They would be willing to patiently await for all of their senses to be satisfied. And that's what ultimately is happening or about to happen. They didn't want to take the shortcut. They didn't mind waiting for it to bake or waiting for it to be decorated or cut or whatever. It's like the ice cream wasn't enough, because ice cream melts, It's only as good for as long as it lasts, till it ultimately transforms into milk and can slip right through your fingertips, right? So it's like what people thought they were getting the jump on has ultimately been kind of slipping through the cracks of their, of their either their satisfaction with it or their maintenance of it, like their sustainability of it, because it's kind of it's transforming. Talking about ice cream and money, if you follow me, its essence is transforming by the day. You know, it's not even what it is now. It's certainly not what it was a year ago. It's barely what it was just yesterday. For real, for real. It's that's how quickly it's evolving to ultimately becoming almost like worthless. Not, you know, not holistically, but in terms of, you know, the analogy here, once it's melted, it's no longer satisfying. And not to say a cake per se is going to necessarily last you a lifetime, but it definitely will last you longer than ice cream. And if you were to wait to have all of it, you would have allowed yourself to have a much more heightened experience of satisfaction, as opposed to having like a fractionated one, you know. Whereas when you took the ice cream first and either you ate it up or it melted, you forfeited the opportunity to taste the sweetness of the two together. You know, because you either got to hurry up and eat the ice cream before it melts if you don't want to wait on the cake, or you wait, you know, you eat the ice cream and it melts and it's no good anymore once the cake is ready. If that makes sense. And I'm sure to some degree it does, but it doesn't. But you feel me. I was just kind of having fun with that analogy. It makes enough sense to move on, I suppose. I'm hearing it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. Oh, this is way too many. I'll just look at it. Interesting. Yeah, but here it is though. That people, some energies thought that they had the drop on the, like the, how can I say? I'm gonna just take these because this time is winding anyway. Why not? Keep it moving. Some energies felt like they had like the drop on the, like, how can I say this? Like they were cleverly manifesting their way to advancement. That's what this is giving me here with the King of Swords, the Magician card. This is somebody that was quite strategic and maybe even cunning. Certainly revered themselves to be clever, you know, to kind of get ahead of the game, literally, with the Chariot card here, to kind of find their way ahead of the competition, even, I would say. But let's see what's on the bottom. The Six of Cups, but yeah, it's like a past regressive mentality though, because what they were gauging their, it's okay, so it's like they were actually quite advanced in the spirit of the time that was conducive for these efforts, for this ambition, you know. But it's like somebody failed to, or some were slow to reinvent themselves to catch up with the time at hand, where by the time they realized, here with the Seven of Pentacles, what season and what age we had embarked upon, you know, that we are engaging in currently, they were still operating on old tricks, you know, old tricks of their trade, old functions and ideals and concepts, and things of that sort that don't really have the same impact. Like I said, we've watched things transition right before our eyes, whether we recognize it or not. We were not only watching it, we were actually contributing to it and even creating it to a great extent by way of our choices. But this is someone that may have been privy to the handwriting on the wall. Like they had all the projections in front of them to make an informed decision as to how they would invest their energy, but they betted on what they knew or what they had evidence for being effective of the past. So like I was saying, like where everybody's, promoting their prosperity, promoting luxury, promoting their prestige and advancement, and like that's the showcase, as opposed to how it shifted now where people are almost like just as superficially in some cases promoting their spirituality. Like in some ways it's not so authentic, in many ways it is, and all the ways I don't really care to judge, but just calling it what it is statistically, it's like everybody that is proclaiming to be spiritual and evolving and on their soul's journey and da 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 is not quite, and I don't mean that in the sense to belittle what someone's intentions are. I mean to say that some people that say they are really just aren't. They're not, because they're saying they are because it's the popular thing to say and do. But again, to my point, it's like somebody pretty much, said that Blockbuster will always be open. People will always want to rent videos. People will, and it's kind of like, you sure about that? I don't know. For all of their cleverness and will and, strong will and ambition, somehow like maybe they were lacking foresight, to kind of see a projection of where creation was going. Or maybe they just felt like, in some cases, some people just felt like whatever I'm on, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Or that they could manipulate the energy one way or another, no matter what anybody else is doing. Like I said, that they had the drop to ultimately manipulate and manifest at their own will. But that's that's like kind of an archaic ideal at this time, when your prime method of manipulation, at best manifestation, is still measured, is still like outdated. Is still measured by material, which, as I said, is melting by the day, melting by the moment, as a matter of fact. The same constructs of creativity and celebrity and popularity and even profit and prosperity aren't the same now as they were before. People aren't really as engaged in what they were before, and even in the ways that they still are, that market is so oversaturated for the most part, because people already kind of jumped in on that head first, that it's those that have kind of like seen the up and coming trend, or have, are the trendsetters themselves, that decided they weren't going to do what the crowd is doing and they were going to do something else, that are now being acclaimed for it, being recognized and receiving notoriety for it. It's like the wave that some people are on now, particularly in terms of spirituality and being on a purposeful path, has been so low key for a long time, while others, before it was popping, while other people were chasing the bag. Now everybody's kind of like getting on board, you know. But at this point, it's like, if you weren't already on board, you have to kind of be submitted to the initiation of that path. That's what it is. It's like somebody would want to kind of jump in right at the place where they left off, like forfeiting nothing, losing. And that's one thing about it when it comes to a spiritual path. That's why for those that kind of took that way before the money in the bag and, you know, all the material things that ultimately wouldn't matter to them one way or the other in the end, it's a hard transition to make, because a lot of the things that have been acquired from that other side of the spectrum, where all you were doing was chasing a bag, don't really get to carry over onto that purposeful path. Like, a lot of things, people, places, and things, actually, as is seen here with the Six of Wands, have to get left behind. You know, like, if you were, you know, it's all, you know, about the energy of your motivation. And if your acquisition was steeped in materialism almost exclusively, 9 times out of 10, a lot of those objects and possessions don't really carry their weight into a spiritual, into like a spiritual pursuit or onto a spiritual path. Because it's like the energy kind of needs to be cleansed as you are being cleansed, to value life at a different frequency before you can begin to attain and build again, you know. And that's probably something, like I said, at that 9 of Wands, that somebody doesn't want to hear or they don't want to accept. So that's what I'm getting here. Like, somebody wanted to be able to kind of skip the line again on their spiritual journey, though, this time, and be able to kind of manifest their way into advancement in that regard, but without really going through the process. And the process is not one that you can really cut corners on. It's different for everybody, but whatever it is for you has to be fully submitted to and carried out before it can even begin to return its, you know, before you even begin to really see a material return for it. It's far more energetic and emotional and psychological and even mental first, where you see your rewards before any pentacles, which is like it is in the tarot. You know, pentacles are the last thing to manifest. So it's like somebody would want to take all the wealth that they acquired, probably doing things that weren't all that high vibrational, and transfer that into a spiritual path, but at an advanced point of progress. That ain't no way. Ain't no way. And there's even something more interesting with that, with the Six of Cups, that I don't feel like I'm tapping into. It's something about trying to drag the past. It's something about the past into the present, but like somebody trying to link all past, present, and future in one space. How does this get to be, Spirit? Can I work this out right now, or is this something I need to think about? Hold on. It's something about, maybe because what the present moment calls for is far too demanding than what someone is willing to submit or surrender to. They have their past accolades and achievements and rewards. They somehow want to transfer that to the future, though. but through the present. And I don't know how I'm seeing that and how that gets to be, but I bet you when I watch this video, I am going to probably hear it. Let me get another card and I'll see if anything else comes to me. It's probably something more mystical with this Magician card in the middle of it anyway, which is even more reason, yeah, for it to be shut down. Like, it all starts at 1. Like, this is somebody that wants to get around being a novice or a beginner, you know, or even a student of life, really. You know, they feel like the knowledge that they have gained and experience should transfer, like their credits should transfer somehow, when it's like you're in a completely different school, you're studying a different major, you know, this is a different degree, so to speak, of education. You can't transfer your credits for let's say music theory, just to say something real off, over to psychology. They almost have no intertwining whatsoever. If you want to be a psychology major now, you're going to have to take the preliminary courses that would set the foundation for that, you know. You may be a master in music theory at this point, but that doesn't say anything about, or I should say like marketing. That makes more sense, like marketing or business, right? Because music is just way out there. But it may be something really like outlandish like that, where somebody is nowhere near being at a point where they could even have, you know, like the audacity to even think that they could go like straight from high school to a doctoral program or something like that. You know what I mean? That's the disparity or the void in enlightenment or education here. But that's what someone feels they either are entitled to, or that they have the capacity, the competency to catch up into. I don't even know if they actually really think that. I would say they probably do, because the King of Swords thinks pretty highly of himself. The Magician pretty much is savvy in bringing things to life, usually under normal, you know, under reasonable circumstances and in the right conditions, of course. And the Chariot is just like headstrong and determined. So it's like somebody that wouldn't typically take no for an answer. But like I said, the university has its standards, you know, and the profession itself has its requirements, that you would have to obtain certain certifications and credits and degrees and such to be a psychologist, or to be, you know, certified in that in that subject matter, you know. So it's like somebody just don't want to be schooled, you know, which is quite interesting. Like I said, something about the past, present, and future here. It's like they want to, this is all they have at present hand for what it is that they're aspiring to. But somehow they want to be able to take this coin and magnify it by way of the Magician. So maybe take this talent. I don't know what this is, but it's something that is organically small. Like in its own regard, it's not all that advanced, but there's something that they would want to magnify of it, but it would be a manipulation more than a manifestation, because the way that I'm explaining it, it just doesn't, it doesn't match up. It's not aligned. And this, which is probably why somebody's at the Seven of Pentacles still looking at this one pentacle like, damn, I thought I did it. Maybe they did a spell or some type of ritual or something that they thought ultimately would advance their qualities in some supernatural way to, oh, that's what they did? Like some type of, like either a glamour spell or I don't know what type of magic that would be. There, you heard that horn. And it's something that they could have buried too. Now this is getting real specific, obviously, but maybe not, I don't know. They probably made some type of sacrifice or offering to barter for some spiritual advancement, maybe to barter for some exchange with an ascended master or somebody that is advanced in whatever path that they're trying to pretty much forge themselves into. That it doesn't look like it was accepted. It wasn't successful. I'll say that. So that's what it comes from, the past. Trying to borrow from the past in the present to advance them into a future projection of themselves that really is completely fabricated, because it wouldn't be their their organic energy if it were to go through, which is probably, like I said, this is something that someone's been able to do before. Borrow other people's energy, borrow other people's talent, gifts, and kind of like mount that energy onto themselves in some exchange of sacrifice or ritual or something like that. And they've had some success with that before, but again, that was in a different time where authenticity was not as highly revered from a universal perspective, where people were still kind of floating in the Pisces, and those Neptune waters to kind of get away with illusions and even delusions. But now it's way too, like, it has to be real. It's got to be real, okay? So if it's not yours, you haven't worked for it, you haven't earned it, you don't have authority and access to it. First of all, you can mount it all day long and look the part, but it's not really going to translate. That's what it is. It's not really going to translate as for the return that you're looking for. Like, really the only things that are really getting a return right now, in a way, again, that is lasting, remember, not just the fleeting fly-by-night ice cream today, no, cake tomorrow type of energy, whatever. Things that melt, things that dissolve. It has to be authentic for you to see that type of longevity and, long-term projection of return, like a long-term investment where you can count on it like growing over time. Someone could still settle for the quick return, but it's given that somebody was trying to find a way. That's what it's finagling is. They were trying to find a way around. They got tired of having to settle for either like pinching off the tree or a little bit here and there, and then you get a big windfall one day, and then you got to go, like I said, you got to keep that energy up. In this climate, in this cosmic climate, you have to work extra hard to do the things that somebody was used to doing, probably with a bit more ease than what they're facing now. Even though it was still hard work, it was still an easier return, or at least a more plentiful return, because there was less awareness of those efforts in the market. It's like everybody wasn't privy to that process of profit, But now, 11:44 on the clock, by the way, But now people are hip to the tricks, whether they decide to, administer them in their own arsenal, or they're hip to it in a way like where I said before, you can't just borrow somebody's energy or siphon it or mount it on yourself, because people are too much more aware. Here we go again with the Queen of Cups, of their pure essence, to be finessed in that way. So, like I said, this is someone that was trying to, run that game in this present season, where whether it was ritualistically, whether it was, in social exchange, whether it was even just the projection of a persona of someone that is evolved and advanced and magical and mystical and, whatever, really smart, really intelligent, or some type of expert in their field, like they are like a guru or some type of like, experienced influencer in some type of way. It's like they don't really have the results to really match that persona anymore. So where they're trying to catch up with the facade to harvest it in manipulative, manufactured ways, they're finding a hard time really being able to keep up with that demand in this season, because the tide has changed. That's what it all comes down to. And then, like I said, it's somebody that has gone to even greater lengths on some old mystical stuff, like I said, to try to like borrow from ascended masters, that mount energy of ascended masters onto them. Like, it could even be like, consider this, somebody propping themselves up in the public eye to be some type of incarnate ascended master, or again some type of guru, or deity reincarnated or something like that, that doesn't really hold weight truly, because the props and the production of which one probably could easily manage before are melting. It's like the mask is melting, the scene is like being broken down day by day, that the walk can't match the talk, because the elements, like I said, it doesn't transfer properly. So like I said, now people are being provoked to try to make up for that loss, make up for that void. But what's really ultimately happening is more and more exposure, and also people still having to come back down to square one to deal with the reality that no matter how hard you try in this season, it's still going to come down to, if this is who you say you are and this is who you aspire to project as an identity, then you're going to have to go through this path to properly profess that persona. And the universe is going to make sure that you do. Because one way it will forge it is to not make it as lucrative as it used to be to lie anymore. So you'll have to figure something else out, or you'll ultimately sabotage yourself in the unjust efforts to fill that void, which would ultimately disqualify you. Like, you'll literally eliminate yourself. Or you'll have to submit to the process at the beginning to get the credits, to get the classes, to get the certifications, to get the experience that would amount to the persona that you have professed, or that you aspire to be. Because the universe is listening. Like, if this is what you say you are, okay. It's like somebody's getting hit. Somebody could be saying they're such and such, fill in the blank. Now you're going to get hit with the path that real, authentic such and such had to take to become such and such. Now you're either going to fill those shoes and walk in them accordingly, and then hope that you make it to get the reward at the end, and along the way, of course, but I'm talking about in terms of it being materially focused, or you're going to burn out because if your feet can't fit in such and such shoes and your feet can't last on such and such path, you're setting yourself up for a real hard time in this season of life. Because you're either going to walk the walk or you're going to get ran over. It's as simple as that. Wow. Here's the emperor. Here's the shoes that if you're going to claim you the man and really assert that you should be privy and that you should be privy to all the privileges of being the man, of the authority, the power, the influence, the wealth, the territory. You're going to have to also take the responsibility, the training, the grooming that it takes to be the emperor in whatever shape or form, masculine or feminine, to be the boss, to be sovereign, be a sovereign spirit. You can't just say it and not actually be it anymore. There was something else that I heard. What was that? I lost it. There was something else I was hearing in the back of my head. And here is the 9 of Pentacles. This is also like, oh, okay, so this is like, like I said, somebody wanting to live in this life is golden energy without the work, but you got to go through the grooming. The 9 of Pentacles, the thing is about that I've learned is that even though it's pentacle energy, the implication is that it was sourced from spiritual affluence. This is just what has manifested from someone's commitment and devotion to their spiritual advancement or enhancement. I don't know how to say it well, but it's like you look at someone, and this is great because some people may be looking at a position of power or a seat of influence, or some type of favor or fortune that somebody has, literally favor or fortune, and you see it as one thing, but you have no idea what the 9 of Pentacles had to do to get to a place to be stable and self-sufficient and secure. You have no idea what the rest of those, what the 7 Pentacles before that really looked like. And this is somebody looking at 7 in kind of like disdain, you know what I mean? And it's the same for the emperor. Like, you idolize a position that somebody holds, but you don't even know the sacrifices that somebody may have had to make, the karma they may have had to clear, let alone incur, to sit in this seat. You just want to sit there. You just want the power that comes along with it. You want the influence. You want the control. You want the wealth. Well, you can have it in your own, your own special package, but you're also going to take that special path to it. And this is just not the season to be able to cut corners or manipulate a way around it, manipulate others to seize it unjustifiably. It can only happen if you're willing to devote yourself to that investment in yourself at this point. And that's the hard pill to swallow for those that have been used to taking the shortcut up until this point, up until now. and also watching other people of whom they probably look down on. That's the other thing, because look at this, as a matter of fact, from the Emperor to the Nine of Pentacles, I can see it this way, that some people probably that have revered themselves, did not say that he probably already feels like he's this energy, so therefore he should be entitled to the spoils. They have revered others that have kind of been taken more, or at least to seem to have taken more of a passive take like a passive way through life, which is false as hell. It's very misinformed to think that the Nine of Pentacles is some type of passive energy. This is where she has evolved to. There was a great deal of work and dedication that went into getting to that point. But I digress. We're talking about the outside looking in, which is always a pitfall, because you're supposed to be looking on the inside of you, not in comparison from the external. But this is people that you know, like you see, like, oh, well, they got it made, or they got it easy, or everything, everything's comes natural to them, or they're so lucky, or this or that. Like, why do they get to be so blessed? And so you want to put yourself in a position to mount that energy on yourself without, like, again, like you're misinformed to think that anything is that easy, even for the people that you find have achieved it. And the reason for now this cause of celebration and this moment of relaxation and perhaps vacation is holistically on account of the work that a lot of people have been putting in when nobody was watching, when nobody cared to watch, when people thought that what you were doing was actually ridiculous, that you were behind, you were off trend, you were behind the, you were a late bloomer, or you were behind the times, or whatever the case may be. Like, you were the one that was off. So it's a hard pill to swallow, again, on the outside looking in, when you thought you had it in the bag one way, only to find out otherwise, and that maybe perhaps the ones that you admonished or criticized were actually prime examples to exemplify, or to aspire to, or to be inspired by, I should say. And watching them live a life in the sunshine in any regard, I'm sure it is a bit infuriating to some degree. But hopefully energies will allow that to be transmuted in the way that, not for nothing, those energies had to watch other people prosper doing less than favorable and fair and sometimes justified or even legal things, but getting ahead nonetheless. It was a flip-flop experience for them as well. And a lot of those, the reason why a lot of people advanced, even in the ways that couldn't be seen or, again, wasn't, showcased or promoted, is because they didn't allow that projection of success and advancement to detour their path, or to deter them from how they felt guided to progress. Seeing people advance doing, with no talent at all, or barely, or, borrowing off of others, or just, creating a whole fictitious persona or character of yourself, and still like raking it in. That could have had the same effect on those that stood by with hella talent and hella integrity and ambition and drive and a love for not only themselves but for their craft, or for people, or for creation, and the profits weren't rolling in many seasons. It was not all that lucrative, and certainly not all that stable and reassuring. So take a page out of that book, to know that everybody has their season, and you can cultivate that season for yourself in pure integrity, if you're willing to put in the work. And it's no different. Nobody's living high off the hog or living life like it's golden just because they've been favored to do so. You know, like, and you get to live a good life. And it's people that have worked to have this privilege. And everybody is responsible. Well, I should say everyone has access to that same level of privilege. Everyone did, and everyone does. The stakes might be a little bit different, a little bit higher. The road may be a little bit rockier now than perhaps it was then, to some degree, because if you crisscross the energy, it would have been hard for those that chose a certain path to go at it the long and hard way back then, when everybody else was prospering and doing it the easy shortcut way. So either way you look at it, the challenge really is the same. It's just a matter of your commitment to getting it done, you know, to seeing it through, so that you can see the authentic you come out of it. Period. That's the only thing that's going to survive in these times and in this age. It has to be real. It's got to be real. All right. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.